Okay, so for today's section, if you check the timetable, we are going to be treating Flutter UI components and some of the UIs. Although we can't actually finish all the UI components we have on Flutter, but we just treat some of the basic one. Yeah, so as you can see here, we have the dialog, icon, class, circular, and a linear progress indicator, terms, and expandable. Yeah, so when we are treating, that is the introduction to Flutter, as I said earlier, I will continue from where Ms. Carter stopped on Wednesday. So this is the code base. So I will just continue from there. Yeah, so um, when we are doing introduction to Flutter, we talk about some platform specific widgets and also some general widgets. So for this dialog now, we have some platform specific widgets for dialog. That is the one that actually speak with the OS with the iOS OS, that is iOS operating system, and also the one that actually speak with the Android operating system. So those are the platform specific widgets. So now for this dialog now, so dialog basically is just like a pop-up that will show probably a confirmation dialog that can show up once a user want to perform an action. So now to show up a dialog, we have a function called show show alert dialog. So now inside our body, I hope you guys understood every single one of this code. That is everything we have here. So I'll just continue from where she stopped. So now I'll create a column here inside this container. The reason why I'm creating a column is because I want to have more than one widget inside my body. So that's why I create a column. So your column can accept multiple widgets. That is, it can accept more than one widget. So that's why I'm using column. So the first thing is we have the container. Then I want to have a button. So once the user click on the button, it will show up the dialog. So I'll show us the different types of dialog. That is the one for iOS and the one for Android. Yeah, so the first thing is to create a button that the user will click for it to actually show up the dialog. So to create a button, we actually have different ways of creating button, or we have different button widgets in Flutter actually. We have the material button, we have the elevated button, we have the icon button, we have text button, we have outline button, we have raw material button, and so on and so forth. But the difference between all these buttons is just the design. That is their output. It's not like their functionality is different. It's just like the style of how we can customize those buttons that is different. So you can try out all the buttons that we have in Flutter. You can just search Flutter buttons and you are going to get a list of them. Yeah, so we'll be making use of this material button here. So I have my press. Inside my press, then we have the child that you just say press me or something. Okay, just say press me. So inside the compress now, that's inside the on-press, we talked about when we were treating the Flutter architecture, we talked about widget, gesture, concept of state, and layout. So this is the on-press now is the gesture aspect. That is a way of interacting with the app. That is a way for the user to interact with the app. So once the user click on a button, you want to perform a function. So that's the on-press. So this guy is making us interact with the app. So that's what the onPress is. So inside the onPress, when we are treating function in that, how you can create a function is by you giving it a function name like this. Probably let me just say my function. So inside the function, you have your circle bracket and also the curly bracket. So the curly bracket is where you have your block of code. So you can now create variable and so on like this. So that's function. So for this onPress now, you can see the onPress property. If you over it, you can see the function that is requiring a function. So we have to pass a function to it. Although it's not necessary you pass a function to it, but if you want the body, then you have to pass a function to it. So now inside the function now, as I said earlier, we want to show a dialog. So we have something called show dialog. So we actually have a lot of show. We have show about dialog, we have show bottom sheet, we have show date picker, we have show date range picker. I will actually give you guys all this show as an assignment, so you guys will just try it out before the next section, which is your Monday. So but the one we are going to be doing today is this show dialog. So inside this show dialog now, we have the build context and also the builder. So this builder simply means what you want to as put to the user. So now so this and return a widget. Just here return. So now for the dialog now, we have two actually. For the material dialog, we have the normal dialog. So the normal dialog has does not have like a way of styling it. You are the one that will style the dialog anyhow you want. But for the alert dialog, it already has like a principle you have to follow. That's this a design principle. It already has the title bar where you can place your title, the body, and the actions. But for dialog, it does not have all these design principle. You have to create every one of them yourself. But for now, we'll be trying out the alert dialog to see how it works. Then later on, we move to the dialog also to check how it works. So now just call your alert dialog like this. So inside the alert dialog, I have my title. So I just want to put text. We all know text widgets, right? We are going to use our text widgets, but hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll just say title dialog here. Okay, so that's for title, and let me put content instead of body. Inside this guy is called content. So inside the content, I'll just write a text. So I'll just say this is a dialog content. It contains a lot of words. So I just want the text to be much of, so that's why I'm writing all this. Yeah, so this is the content and also action. So the action is just like when Ms. Carson was talking about this alpha, we have the leading and we have the action where you can have multiple icon at this right hand side. So for our last dialogue now, we have action also that we can have different buttons. So we'll be calling the actions here also. So inside the action, I can have cancel, that is close the pop-up or do a particular function. So we have one cancel and then we have the other one which is done. So now for the action, I will call my text button. I made mention of different button. One of them is text button. So I'll just say inside my text button, this guy will be there. I have to remove this constant. So then is text. I'll just say cancel. Then I'll just copy this and paste it and just change it to done. So if I click on my press me button now, I believe you guys can see my screen bar.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay, so if I click on this my press me button, you can see that once I'm on the button, the icon changes. You can see that it changes to something clickable. So if I click on it now, you see this pop up here. So this is the last dialog. You can see my title. This is the title. This is the content, and also the action where I have this cancel and done. So this is the structure of our last dialogue. So as I said earlier, this last dialogue already has a design principle, that is, it has where the title is, where the content is, where the action is, and all. But for a dialogue, the dialogue does not have a design principle. You have to customize everything in your own way. So that's the difference between these guys. So I will also create an example for this, for the dialog aspect, so you can actually see the difference. So now for this dialog, now we have so many other properties that you can try. If you want to change the background color and all, so inside this allows dialog now, you can just come and press Ctrl space. You can see the action alignment. The alignment for this action now is from is it right? Yeah, from your right. If you want to change the alignments now to start from this angle, then you can use the action alignment. We have the action padding, that is the padding, the space between this action and this the content. So that's the action padding. We have the alignment. So for this alignment now, the action dialog is placed at the center. Then you can change the position to either top. If you just want to change it to any other position, then you can use the alignment. We have background color. By default, the background color is white. You can change it to any color you want, but let's just leave it as this white. So we have content padding, that is the padding. By default, we already have some padding. You can see that there's space between the title and this angle. So that's the default content padding. So if you want to change it to your own specific padding, then you can call this content padding and change the stuff. We have this elevation now. You can see that once, let me close this. If you press this guy now, you can see some shadow behind the alert dialog. So that's the elevation property is the one responsible for it. So you can set the elevation to either it's actually requesting for integer, so you can set it from 0 to any number you want. So that's for elevation and so many other stuff. You also have shape. So by default, if you want to change the shape now to something curve, you can do that. But actually, let me between all those properties so you can see how it works. So now let me start with background color first. Let's just change the color to what should change the color to? Green. Yeah, let's say green. Maybe to look fine. So now we have to press it again. Let me refresh. Okay, so you can see the color is green, although the color is not really that good. Yeah, let's just leave it as green for now. So moving on now, we have the action alignment now. This is the action. You can't really see the action button again. Let me change the color of the action button to white, so we can actually see the button. So text down and color. White and down. The same thing for the done button. Okay, this alignment now. So for the alignment, if you over, you can see that it's requesting for main axis alignment. So main axis alignment. So I can just put it as start, that it starts at the first angle. So if I refresh now, let me close this dialog and press the button again. You can see that our action has been placed to the starting position. So that's the action alignment. So we have the action padding also. So let me also do that. So for the action padding, that is the padding, you can see that this button and the content, that is this is a dialog content. It contains a lot of, you can see that there's a space between them. So if you want to change the padding to a specific padding, then you can call this action padding. So it will be padding between these contents and this guy, and also the bottom part. You have the top and the bottom. So for this guy now, I'll just put edge insert. Let me just say only top. Let me say 10, and for bottom, let me say 12, or let me say 6. So that's the padding between the top and the bottom. That is the padding, that is the spacing above and the spacing below. That's I said 10 pixels and 6 pixels for this space between the content above and the one below. So If I close this dialog now and I refresh, when I click on the press button, you can see now that the space has increased. If I reduce the space now for the top, now if I reduce it to, let me just reduce it to 2 so you can see the difference. And also for this button, let me reduce it to 1 so you can see the difference. Let me refresh and close this and see. Okay, let me try and close this again. Let's see this. Okay, this I think there's another one for content padding. Yeah, so for this content padding, we have the edge insets. Let me just put the description here also. So for this content padding, is for the whole content inside the dialog. You know, this is our whole content. So we are giving it a specific padding ourselves by default. If you over this content padding, by default, if you read through this text, everything, the padding is 20 pixels. You can see that if there is no context, no padding will be provided. Otherwise, padding of 20 pixels is provided above the content to separate the content from the title, and padding of 24 pixels is provided on the left, right, and bottom. That is the left, right, and bottom, the one between this content and the action. So it has 24 pixels by default, so we can change that. So now let me just call the left also and set 12 to it, and also the right and set 12 to it. For the top, let me just set, since the default is 20, let me just set 12 as our new stuff, and also this also should be 12. Okay, so now I can refresh. Okay, let me close this, press me again. So you can see now that the padding has changed. You can see that the padding at the left and the right has changed for this dialog. That's because the padding it says for it now is 12 pixels at the top, 12 at the bottom, 12 left, and 12 right. So that's what this action button is for. Yeah, so now for the remaining ones, let me try if we can actually do some other one. Okay, so for the shape now, this will be the last one we will try it out for this last dialog. We go and move to something else. So for this shape now, it's just like the shape of this dialog. If you want to change the curve now to something else, then you can use the shape. So inside our shape, you return rounded rectangle border. So inside the rounded rectangle border, we have the border radius. So the border radius is the one that will give you a curve, any amount of curve you might want to give your dialog, even if it is for a container. That is, in our container also we have decoration. So inside the decoration we have border radius. So you can also have this border radius if you want to give your container a nice shape. So now for this curve now, just put 16. So if I close this and refresh, let me press this stuff, you can see now that the curve has changed. Actually, I'm not liking this padding. Let me just comment out this default padding that I have here. So it should just be the default one. So let me close it again. Let me refresh. Yeah, so all these codes will be pushed to the GitHub repo, so you can check it out after the section. You can check out the updates I did after the section. So you can see the curve now has changed. If you want to reduce it, then you can just set it to 10 and this and all. So let me change the position of this guy also to end. Okay, so refresh and press me. You can see now that you actually have a nice dialog. So another thing is, we are returning this our show dialog now. That is inside our press, we have the show dialog, which has the alert dialog return. So now inside the show dialog, I'm actually pressing outside of this show dialog to close the show dialog. But assuming you don't want the user to be able to do that, that is, once this dialog is open, you don't want the user to click outside for the dialog to close. You want the user to click a button for it to close. Then you have something like that inside the show dialog widget, which is barrier Yeah, this barrier dismissible. So this barrier dismissible now you have to set. If you check the doc, okay, it does not have doc. This barrier dismissible now stands for this outline, that is the outside part of the last dialog. If you want it to be clickable or not, so you can set it to false. So once you set it to false, let me close it first. So you set it to false. So once you set it to false, once the user click on the outside, the user won't be able to close the dialog. But inside our button and inside this our cancel button, we want the user to be able to close the dialog. So now just call our, although we are here to get to navigation will be treated next week, my brother, so you know what how to navigate between screens. So now to close the pop-up with a click of a button, we just call navigator. We have our navigation system in Flutter, which is navigator, then it has a lot of other properties. So for this pop now, pop is to close anything that is on that screen. So once I call this navigator.pop, that is close anything that is on that screen. So this guy, once we click on the cancel button, it will just close the dialog. So now let me refresh. So let me press me. If I click outside now, I'm clicking on, you can see my cursor. If I'm clicking on the outside, it's not closing. That is until I press the cancel button that the dialog will close. So once I click on the cancel button, the dialog closes. So that's what I'm trying to say. Do you all get this alert dialog? Mike, Adebayo, Kelly,
Yes.
everybody. Okay. Do you have any question on it before we move on? Any question at all?
No, I don't
Okay.
have any question on it. But can it still be, assuming if we are not using cancel, like if you click outside the box,
Yeah.
outside the tie dialog box, can it still remove? Is there a way for us to do that?
Yeah, there's a way. The way for you to do that is by setting this barrier dismissible to true. By default, it is
Oh,
true. It is until you want it to actually not clickable outside. That is, the dialog shouldn't close if these are click outside. That's why you set it to false. So if you want it to be clickable outside for the dialog to close, then you set it
okay,
to true.
okay.
So that's
Thank you.
yeah. Okay. So now that's that for this alert dialog. So let me give you another example on the dialog. So I will create another button. Let me change the button name of this guy to show alert dialog, so you can know the difference. So show alert dialog. So I'll create another button. Let me give it a space. So we have another widget called Sizeable. So Sizeable is just like a container, but the difference between Sizeable and a container is that our container has decoration, but Sizeable does not have decoration. So it's only give us space. That is, we can use it to give space in between one widget, so between two widgets. Yeah, so that's what Sizeable is for. So I want to give space between this material button and also the next material button I want to create. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So size block, I give it the height of 12, and underneath it record the material button. So for this material button now, then press, then child text, and say show dialog. Just show dialog for this one. Okay, so if I refresh, we are going to see the button. So show alert dialog and show dialog. Okay, so inside the press of this show dialog now, we'll be calling the show dialog again, but our return keyword or our return widget will be dialog instead of alert dialog. So let me come in. So we just return alert dialog rather instead of alert dialog. So as I said earlier, the alert dialog has a design principle. You can see that inside our alert dialog now, we already have the title where you place the title, for the content where you place the content and also the action. But for this dialog, you have to structure everything ourselves. That is, if you want to have your title, you want to have your title here as this position and so on. So that's the difference between this alert dialog and this dialog. So inside the dialog now, you can see if you press cross, you don't have title here, you don't have title, you don't have action, you only have child. So inside this child now, that's where we just return any widget you want to actually show. So now inside our dialog now, we actually want to return multiple widgets. So we want to have more than one widget. So I'll just return a column for this child. So inside the column, I will now design my own title, I will design the content, then the action also. So now I'll just call this child, then column children, then inside the children simply means multiple stuff. So I'll just call the title, the text rather. There's no title widget, we only have text. So inside this guy, dialog title, let me just set dialog title like this. And also let me create another text. Let me say dialog content. This is a content inside our dialog box. So, and also for the action, for the action of this show dialog, there's already an action bar that there's already an action parameter where we just pass our buttons, and all the buttons are placed at a particular position. But for this dialog, if you want the button, you have to specify how you want to structure where your button will be positioned also. But for this alert dialog now, I just want to display one button. So I'll just call my material button now. So the material button will be big. So let me call the material button like this. So this one we use it to actually close the dialog. So inside the child, and just say close me or something. So let me change the color of this guy also to something reasonable. Colors dot green. So if I click on this dialog now, let's actually see what I'm trying to design. If I click on this dialog now, then I refresh. Okay, so let's click on it. You can see our dialog. You can see that the size is actually too big. So you have to reduce the size yourself, and also all the content. You can see all the contents, they are just placed anyhow. You have to structure how the content will be like. So now to reduce the size now, inside our column now, we have minimum main axis sign. So we can set it to minimum. So main axis size does mean, so that is don't contain any space that you are yet to occupy. So if I refresh now and I click on this show dialog again, you can see that this is our dialog. So I can give spacing between the upper part and also the lower part. You can see that they are actually touching the old dialog of it. So I can just wrap my column with a padding. Actually, if you are not understanding anything, you can just keep the question. So once I'm done with this aspect, you can just ask the question. So padding. So the padding is like, I want to give a space between this dialog title and the edge of this dialog box, and also the close button, the close me button. I want to give a space between the button and also the edge of this dialog. So that's why I'm using this padding. So I wrap my column with padding, then I can say all for 12 or so. Let me increase it to 20 actually. So 20. So if I refresh, I click the stuff, you can see the padding now, the padding below and above. Yeah, so now you can see our dialog title. Then you have to design. If you notice now on this last dialog, once you can see that the title already has like a style. The title font size is bigger than the content and the boldness also is there. But for this dialog, there's nothing customized. You have to do everything yourself. You can see that the text, the whole text is still the same design, so you have to do the styling, the all those stuff yourself. So the main purpose of this dialog is to give you leverage on probably you want something else aside what a last dialog will give you. You want to design a custom dialog for yourself, then you cannot use a last dialog. But if you want to just use your normal what's it called, your normal dialog, then you can go for the alert. But if you want to design something, probably you want to show an image, then you want to display title, you want to display different stuff, then you can go for this alert dialog where you have the ability to do this customization anyhow you want. Yeah, so that's the major difference between alert dialog and dialog. Do you guys get that? Hello.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I will move on from this alert dialog now. So as I said at the beginning of this section, I said we have specific widgets. So if you are on Android, you notice that this dialog is actually common on Android phone. It's not like common. This is the Android specific alert dialog design. Anywhere you see dialog, this is how it look like. But on my phone now, there's different dialog design. So I will show us the one of iPhone now. That is the one for iOS. So let me create another button that will show up the iOS way of alert dialog. Yeah. So now I'll just create another button. Let me call this Sizeable again. So inside of it, I'll call material button. So this material button, actually anything material, we have material design. The material design is for Android. Then Cupertino, if you actually go through any iOS documentation, anything Cupertino, that's for iOS, while anything material design, that's for Android. So now we have this material button that we are calling now is Android widget, that is Android button design widget. We have Cupertino button also. So for Cupertino, I can just say Cupertino like this. Cupertino, you can see that we have a lot of Cupertino stuff here. So I can just come here and call the Cupertino button. So inside the Cupertino button, I have the child. So I can say text show Cupertino dialog. Then on press of it, you want to show the dialog. So now okay, so let me refresh. So you can see now that the design of show of material button is different from that of this Cupertino button, and we didn't actually style the text or do anything. We just call the widget. So widgets now has different style, that is they have different default style. So for this Cupertino now, you can see that the text is actually bigger and the default color for it is this blue. So that's the Cupertino style of doing things, and that's why as you can also see the font, that is the font is different from that of this alert show for this material button, these two material buttons. You can see the font is different, that is the font style. So now inside this operation, we want to show our Cupertino dialog now. So I'll just show Cupertino dialog. You can see that for our normal alert dialog, we have show dialog. For this Cupertino now, we have show Cupertino dialog, where we are going to return the Cupertino dialog stuff. So show Cupertino dialog, then we return our builder. So inside the builder now, we pass the context, then this guy. So return Cupertino dialog. Okay, sorry, there should be space. Cupertino dialog. Cupertino dialog like this. So come in Cupertino dialog No, it should not be Cupertino dialog version. Okay, Cupertino dialog version. Okay, so Cupertino dialog, Cupertino. Okay, Cupertino alert. It should be Cupertino alert dialog. For material, what is it called now? For the material design, we have alert dialog, and we also have alert. We have alert dialog, and we have dialog alone. So for Cupertino also, we have Cupertino alert dialog, and also the one for Cupertino dialog. As you already know the difference between alert dialog and dialog, the same explanation applies to this Cupertino. The Cupertino alert dialog already has a design principle, while the Cupertino dialog does not have any design principle. You have to do the designing yourself. Yeah, so that's so now for this alert dialog. Now we have our title. Yeah, so we have the title. So this is the title now. Just say Cupertino dialog like this. Dialog. And also for the content, just say this is a Cupertino dialog. This is a Cupertino dialog box for iOS. So at the action also we have the action where I will just put two. I'll just put, instead of calling text button, we have button widget also for iOS. So I'll just call the Cupertino button instead of the text button. So now inside this line, I just call Cupertino button. So inside the Cupertino button now, just say cancel, then the price will be empty for now. Then the second one also, you can just write it down like that. Yeah. So now if we press on this, if we press the show Cupertino dialog now, you see the difference in the design as I was saying earlier. So let's click on it. So you can see now the Cupertino. You can see, if you have used iPhone before, you have seen this dialog in one way or the other. So this is the iOS way of designing their own dialog. You can see that it's different from that of Android. If I click OK, the clicking of outside for this Cupertino is set to true by default, so you have to change it. So the user can, we have this barrier disable to be true. So let me restart. But do you guys get the gist between the difference between the normal alert dialog and this Cupertino? Do you guys get it? Mike Adebayo, do you get the difference?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you can see that if. Sorry, are you asking a question?
Yes.
Okay, what's the question again?
So how are you going to specify, since Flutter is for the same code base for Android and iOS, so how are we going to specify that we are going to use Cupertino for iOS and not to Aladia?
Yeah, so we have a way to get the platform that the app is currently running on. Flutter is write your code once and get the results on all platforms. But the but there is that on some platform, Flutter just has a built-in widget. It's not like Flutter has, for example, actually for Android, the Android OS is open source, but for iOS it's not open source. So Flutter has to design all the iOS design structure inside Flutter. That's why we have the Cupertino widget here. So by default we have the Android design, but Flutter has to design all the iOS stuff because iOS OS is not open source. That's why we don't have different iPhone, that we have different Android. We have Samsung, we have high-tech, Techno, and all those stuff. But for iOS, it's only iPhone. You can't see another version of, like, another company building another iPhone out there. That's because their OS is not open source. That is not available for the public to build on. only Android allows that for any company to just come on board and do that. So by default, Flutter has all the components of Android built in, but for iOS now that Flutter doesn't have access to, they have to build every of those components themselves. So that's why we have these different widgets here that adds the platform specific stuff. So now to determine if the app is actually running on Android or iOS, we have something called platform specific. So now inside my inside this button now, I can say inside the on-press now, I want to show the Cupertino dialog or the alert dialog based on the platform the user is on. Probably the user is on iPhone or Android. So now we have this widget called platform. So this platform now dot, you can see, I'm sorry, I didn't import, so okay, let me try and import this platform. We have to import a particular package, okay, that's IO. So to get the platform functionality, we have to import this .io. So now platform dot, you can see now we have is Android, is Fuchsia. You know, I made mention of Fuchsia when I was doing introduction to Flutter. Then at least you can build application on Flutter, Fuchsia OS. So it's Android, is Fuchsia, is iOS, is Linux, is Mac, is Windows. So all these guys is for you to determine if the app is running on any of these platforms. So I can say if the platform is on iOS now, I can just say do this. Do we talk about ternary operator? I guess we actually did the running function, or that operator rather. Do you guys know what ternary operator is? Michael, Anibal.
No, I don't know what it is.
Okay. Okay. So let me just briefly explain. So ternary operator is just like if and else statement. You guys know if and else statements, right? As is your conditional statement. When we have if,
Yeah.
else, for loop, and all those stuff. So now, so ternary operator is just like a short form of if and else statement. So I am saying here that if platform is Android, do this. That is, let me just say, print something to the user. Print uh, on Android. Otherwise, so this question mark stands for the if. So if the platform is not iOS, that is, if this condition is not true, then do this other one. So that's just that's just the ternary operator. So now the first condition is to put the question mark. The first thing you have to do is write out the condition. That is the condition you want to take. So the condition you want to take for is if platform is Android. So once the platform is Android, do this particular expression. That is print on Android. Otherwise, if the platform is not on Android, then do this other function. Do you guys understand that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so now that's awesome. So now if I refresh now and I click on this guy, it will still show me this Cupertino dialog. That's because we are not currently running the app on Android. I'm running it on Windows. So if I change this guy now, if it's Windows, then it should print this. I am on, let me change it to Windows. I'm on Windows. So let me open my console so you can see the value. So let me refresh. So if I press this guy now, you can see now inside my console it's printing out I'm on Windows. It's not showing the dialog. That's because we have actually written a condition here that is checking if the platform is on Windows, Mac OS or Linux or all this platform. So that's the platform. So for the question Oluwaseyi asked earlier, that is, how are we going to know if the platform is on iOS? How are we going to differentiate between widgets? Actually, you can use your material design all through, and it will still look very okay on both platforms. Even if you are on the app on iOS, it will still look very okay. But for all these platform specific widget, that is the dialog aspects now, we have the dialog aspect, we have the button. Although all the platform specific widgets are not that much, they are just minimal, especially for this iOS of 18. So for the iOS, if you just want to have like a feel like of the iOS aspect, then you can do this conditional stuff. Then you show, if it is for Android now, you can show for that alert dialog, and if it is for iOS, then you can say show the Cupertino one. Do you get that, Oluwaseyin? Oluwaseyin?
Yes, I get it now.
Okay, so now let me just change this guy now, so we can still see our um, yeah, let me change it to Android so the condition will be true. So now let me refresh. So once I click on this, you can see the dialog for iOS. If I click on this one is for Android. If I click on this one, you can see this one is for Android. You can see the one for iOS. You can see the design is quite different. If you're on iPhone, you'll have seen this kind of dialog before. Yeah, so that's that about dialogs. Do you guys understand, like, do you have like a basic understanding of how dialogs works now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Do you have any question on dialogue before we move on? Do anyone have any question on dialogue before we move on?
I don't have any question.
Okay, so let's move on. So the next thing, let me check the curriculum. So the next thing now is icon. So this icon is how to display icon inside our Flutter app. I actually guess you guys have done that, since I can see icon here and all, but let's just still do it. So now underneath this button, which is show personal dialog, now we have an icon widget. So the icon now is just like you are drawing an art on your screen. So we have different icons as there. To see list of icons that you might have access to, you can just go to icons.google. Let me just go to this material icons. Let me send the link to the comment section. So just go to fonts.google.com. So under the fonts.google.com now, you can check the icon tab. So on the icon tab now, you can see list of all the icons that you have. So you can just come here, check the name, then come to your Flutter app and write out the name. So now, let me send this link to the comment section so you guys can just check it out. Okay. Okay, yeah. So now you can see we have majorly all the icons that you might need out there. So now I'll just come here. Let me just show this. I just want to show like 4 icons in a row. So okay, this Flutter dash source support. I'll just show these 4 icons. Yeah. So let me go back to my app. So so for icons now, we have normal icon widget and we have button icon. So the button icon is the one that can be clickable, that is the user can interact with it. It has the onPress property. So anywhere you see the onPress, that means the user can interact with that particular widget. But for the normal icon, the user can interact with unless you wrap it around gesture detector, which give any widget that is inside of it the ability for the user to actually interact with it. Yeah. So now I will just show the 2 examples. So let me just inside a row. I want to display. Do you guys know row and column? Row and column. Anybody? Anybody?
No.
No. Michael, Adebayo. What about you?
No.
Okay, so now column, as the name implies, is like horizontal and vertical. Our row is vertical. Oh, wait, which one is vertical? I'm coming. Okay, our row is horizontal rather, that is from left to right, while our column is from top to bottom. So the column, I can see now inside my body, I have this column here, now. That is, I want to place the widgets from top to bottom. That's why I have column. So inside the column now, I have these children which can contain list of widgets. When we are talking about listing, that list, our list can contain any value. That is, can contain list of values. So now for this children now, it's also returning list of widgets. So inside of the column, we can have as many widgets as we have inside of. As you can see now, we have multiple widgets. We have more than one. This is container, this is material button, another material button, and this Cupertino button, and also all these size blocks. So these are different widgets inside one particular widget, which is the column. So in Flutter now, we have single widget and double widget. For example, an example of single widget is center. So this center now, you can see that the property of center, which is child. Child simply means, like in English now, child is one, while children is multiple. So now you can see that child, you can only return one particular widget to it. You can return more than one. And for children now, you can return multiple widgets inside of it. So that's for the row. So row is top to bottom, that is vertical, while row is left to right, that is horizontal. So now I want to place all these, the 4 icons I said I want to show. I want to place it from left to right. So that's why I'm using row here. So do you guys get that?
Yes.
Okay, so cool. So now let me just comment this. So now children, then I have my list. So those 4 icons dot. Let me go and check the name of the icon I want to use. Okay, Flutter dash. So to show an icon on your app now, you first of all call the icon widget. That is this icon. Then inside the icon widget, now you can see that we have icon and we have icon data. So inside the icon data now, we have the size. We want to increase the size. We have the icon color and also all these other properties. So now for the icon data now, just for icons dot. If you just press, once you write the icons dot, you can just use your control space to see. You can see the list of icons that you have here. You can just be pressing down your arrow down keyboard. You can be seeing the preview of all those icons at my left hand side. So I can just type Flutter dash. So this is the Flutter dash. You can see the preview also. So if you want it, you can see the outline, dash outline and all those stuff. So now I'll just select this. So let me refresh to see the output. So you can see the Flutter dash on my screen here now. So let me increase the size also a little bit. So I'll just increase it to 36 like that. Okay, 36 like that. So now I'll just duplicate this code and I'll be changing icon. So I want to display 4 icons as I said earlier. So for the second icon, I have this source. So let me just call source here. So source, the third one, dashboard customize. So let's see, dashboard customize, and the fourth one, which is support. You can say support now. Okay, so now if I refresh my stuff, you can see now we have these 4 icons. So inside our row now, inside the row now, we have some properties. As is, I want to give space between these icons. Now we have main axis alignment, we have cross axis alignment. So now for this main now, we have space between, space around, space space heavily, space around. So this space around now, that is give each of the widgets inside our row space around it. So the space around, we give every of the widgets space around them. Space between, we just give space between the widgets. It won't give around them, but between each of the widgets. And space heavily, that is space, just like space between, we just give space heavily also. And we have center, that is center all the widgets inside our row to the center of the screen. We have end, that is this our right position, place all the widgets at the right position, and also start where they are currently, now at the start. So now I want to use the space around now. So on space around, if I refresh, you can see now that the dialog has space around it. Yeah, so that's that about the icon. So with the icon now, you cannot change the color. So we have the icon data, the size. I can also change the color like this. Let me just change this one to orange. So let me give them different color. So let me give this one pink. Let's say pink. Let's say purple. Let me see. What should I call this? Blue. Yeah. So now if I refresh my program, you can see now that we have different colors. So that's that about our icon class. So now for the icon now, we also have another widget, which is icon button. So you can see that for this icon now, you can't really interact that is, the user can interact with it by default. But with the icon button widget, the user can interact with it because it has the onPress function. So now I'll just create another button underneath this row now, which you call the icon button. So now icon button like this. So now just call icon button. So you can see that it has onPress property. For normal icon, it does not have the onPress property. So I can just say icon. Let me just say icon, and let me put play inside icons dot play. Let me change the size to also 45 also, and color should be green. Okay, I think, do you have any play icon? Okay, let me see play. Okay, play arrow. So now if I refresh the program, now, okay, now so you can see this icon play here. You can see once I over it now, my cursor change to something clickable. You can see that there's overshadow also behind it. That is, there's an overshadow, but for normal icon, for this icon now, there's nothing for the user to interact with. But for this icon button, you can see that the user can interact with once I put a function inside this my onPress stuff. So that's the difference between the two. Do you guys get that now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Any question on that? Any question before we move on? Any question at all on icons and icon button? Do you have any question on it?
No.
Okay, so now moving on now. So the next thing on our syllabus, on our to-do for today, is circular and linear indicator. So now, this circular is just like, as the name implies, something circle. Circular indicator simply means something that is like a loading spinner. So that's for circular, that is a circle stuff, and for linear it's like a line that is rolling. So we have the two now. So now underneath this my icon button now, I will create circular progress indicator and also linear progress indicator for us to see. So now let's come here. So the first one will be circular progress indicator like this. Let me just leave it, and also linear progress indicator. So let me show you the difference. Let me give space between the two so we can see them very well. Now refresh. So you can see the circular and the linear, which is the straight line. This one is the loading spinner, and this one also is the one from left to right. So that's the circular and also the loading. So they have properties also. For this circular, we have background color. That is, the background color of this circular now is transparent. That is the color of this current page, which is yellow. So if I want to change the background color now to something else, then I can change it. Then we have color, that is the blue color of this guy. So let me do that. So color now, let me say color jot. What should I change it to now? Let me just say black. So color just black. So let me refresh. You can see now that the background underneath now is black. If I want to change it to white, let me change it to white. Oh, sorry. Change it to white. Refresh. Then you can see the white now. If I want to change the blue part to something, then I will call the color. So I can change that one to, let me just change that one to white. Let's call colors dot red. So refresh. So you can see now that you have different colors. So the same thing applies to the linear also. If you want to change the background color from that default underline blue with opacity, then the one going back and forth. So that's that on the what's it called now? The circular progress indicator and linear progress indicator. So their major use cases, probably you have a login screen now, and once the user click on the button to log in, you want to show the user the loading spinner. That is, you are processing the user information, then you can use something like this to just show the user that you are processing their data before you navigate them to the home page. So that's the essence of these two guys. Do you guys understand that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if I may ask, are you guys coding along or you are just watching it? Are you coding along?
I'm watching it.
Okay. What about Mikey? Adebayo, Oluwaseyi?
I'm watching it. Tell you to put up record on it and
What
actually
about Mikey?
down.
I'm here with you. Your page is okay for me.
Okay. You know what? Since probably I'm too fast though, but since the recording will be uploaded on YouTube, you can just follow through. You can just follow it on YouTube as the video will be uploaded probably tomorrow morning. So you can just check out the videos, the recording, so you can just pause and play the ones that I'm so fast and so on. So that's that. So do you guys have any question on the circular and linear before we move on? Any question at all? Any question that you might think of? Just ask. Okay. I guess there's no question. So now, the next one that you have here is tabs and expandable. So this tab is somehow complex, but not really complex. So the tab aspect is just like, I know most of us are on WhatsApp, right? So now on WhatsApp now, where you have that chat, status, and call, that's tab. Where you have the first thing is the what's it called? The camera icon, then the chat, the status, and the last one, which is the call. So those are the tabs. So they are under the app bar widget. So now we go back to the app bar now. So this is our body, where we have all these body stuffs. So now for the tab now, it will be inside our app bar rather. So inside our app bar now, we have a parameter called bottom. So bottom like this. So inside the bottom now, we return tab bar. So tab bar. So it's just like sorry, did Miss Consult explain this bottom navigation stuff to you guys during the last section? Hello.
Hello. Uh, during
Do
the
you get?
last class,
Yes, that is. Do
the
you
explanation
understand
for
this?
the
This bottom navigation bar, where we have this home page, profile, all these
yeah,
icons.
yeah, she worked on it. She gave insights on it also.
Okay, but do you understand it? Because it's still the same approach that you are going
Uh,
to be following for
yeah,
this tab.
for me, I did understand it, but I just told her that I'm going to go ahead and watch the video so
Okay,
I will understand
that's
it
good.
better.
Okay, that's good then. So now for the bottom navigation bar, we are still going to follow the same process for this tab bar now. For this bottom on our bar. So now for the tab bar now, if you over it, it's the required parameter which is tab. So the tab is requesting for list of widgets. We can have more than one tab inside our app bar, just like how WhatsApp has its own. It has chat, it has status, it has call. That's like three, and also the camera icon, which is four in total, like that. So now that's what this list widgets is requesting for. So all the what should I call it now? All the widgets that we might want to return, then we have to call them inside this tab. So the first one is, let me just say, let's do a replica of one. So let me say text. Or the first one is icon. So let me say icon, then our camera icon. That's just camera. Comes on camera. Then the next one will be text. Let me say chat.
Hello, Samuel. Uh,
Yeah.
this tab can either be top or bottom, right?
Can either be what?
Top or bottom. It can either be on
No,
top or at the bottom.
no, it can only be at the bottom. We only have the
It can
bottom.
only be at the bottom.
The yeah, it can only be at the bottom because the app bar section is the one that can be at the top. So the bottom aspect will be the one to be underneath the app bar. So that's how we
Okay.
have it.
I was thinking when you mentioned WhatsApp, because it seems that that of WhatsApp is at the top, since we have charts, just like a column.
Okay, yeah, when once I reload this stuff, you see the output. The WhatsApp
Okay.
one, we have where we have the WhatsApp name, then the option, that's where we have that three dots. Then underneath
Okay.
the WhatsApp name, then we have the status, chats, and the stuff. So that's what we are doing. So on
Okay.
that one that is on that is the one that Flutter calls bottom. So once you
Okay.
create the bottom, you see the output. So let me just finish it up. So chat status and the first one course. So now let me break it. So reload. Okay, yeah, we are going to get an error because we are yet to finish up the whole process. So now the next thing now is on this home page. After this tab now, on this home page, let me just call. Let me just refresh it actually. Okay, so no tab controller for tab bar. Okay, so this error is just telling us that we ought to have a tab controller. So inside the tab bar now we have a property called this tab controller here. So this is a tab controller. So we are going to create a controller for it. So now let me just call controller like this. Controller. So the essence of this controller is for the changing. On WhatsApp now you are sliding from chat to status to all those stuff. So for it to know the current position where you are, that is, if you are on a call now and you want to click on chat, that is, you just move to chat. For it to manage the state of that particular position, that's what this controller is doing. So now for the controller, I'll just create a variable at the top now. Just call it uh, controller like this. Okay, so inside the controller we have the initial index should be 0. So what's the function? Okay, the length. Okay, we have the length also should be 4, and also let's see, I'll just put this here. Okay, you know what? Let me just remove this aspect for now. Let me put the question. Okay. So inside this guy, let's push controller. So refresh. So let me restart. Okay, look at the controller protector. Then show where default. Oh, okay. So now I'm coming. Let me quickly check. Okay, let me actually check the documentation I saw online. Because we are missing the controller. The reason why we are getting this guy, if you check the error, is just telling us that there is no controller for it. So inside the controller now, we ought to pass something that is currently missing. So that's why we are getting that error. So now let me check this doc online. Okay. So default apps. Okay. So you can see now for their own example, they already wrap the whole scaffold with this default tab controller. So you don't need to create any extra controller again. You can see the output now. So let me just do that. So we wrap this guy with default controller or scaffold. So wrap it widget. Just call default controller, default tab controller like this. So inside it we have the length, which is 4. So this length now is like the length of widgets that we have inside of this our tab bar. That's why I put 4, because we have 4 items inside of it. Yeah, so if I reload now, it should work. So now you can see what we have here. So you can see this chart, you can see the status, you can see the core. So you can see customize all these guy more if you want to have the same look like that of WhatsApp. So you can still customize it very well other than the default way. So you just leave it like this for now. So that's how it works. So the first thing is inside your app bar now. Inside your app bar, call the button property. So pass the tab bar. So inside the tab bar now, you have this tab property again. So this tab property accepts list of widgets that you want to return. So this list here is what you are seeing here, where we have this camera icon, the chat, the status, and the core. So that's the list of widgets, and we have to wrap our whole scaffold with default controller where we pass the length, that is the length of all the items we have inside the tab, which is 4. So we have 4 items there, then I pass 4. So that's how it works. So do we all get that?
Yeah, very
Okay.
clear.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So that's that. So you guys, you have to actually do more research on all this stuff on your own, so as to actually understand it better. So you do more practice, then you do research on it. So any widget that you just want to try, just search probably for this tab bar. Now just search tab bar in Flutter. You see a lot of documentation on it. That is the official Flutter documentation themselves, and also some articles online that you can just go through that will give you more explanation on all these stuff. So that's that. So now that's that for tab bar. Do anybody have any question on it before we move on? Any question whatsoever? Okay. In the absence of no question, then so we have to move on. So the next one on our list is is it? Okay, actually the last one that we are going to be doing today is the expandable widget. So this expandable widget, as the name implies, something that we can collapse and expand. That is, we can collapse the widget and we can expand it. That is, we want to add some information until the user click until the user click on the button for it to expand the information. Yeah, so that's that. So now for the expandable, now you have to call the expandable widget. So underneath my linear progress indicator now, just call the expandable stuff now. Expandable widget. Actually, Flutter has a lot of widgets. You can I'm not sure if you can actually know everything, but once you are working on projects, you surely be trying out new widgets. So you just have to get your hands dirty with a lot of projects. So once you are doing a project, you want to use one widget, you do research. Once you are doing research, you have new widgets to work with and all those stuff. So that's how it works. It's not like everything will actually be taught, you actually know everything at once like that. Is as you keep moving on your with your Flutter or mobile development career that you get used to all these stuff. Yeah, so now for the expandable one, I just call expandable now. Expandable, expandable. It's is the spelling correct? Okay, expansion panel. So no, it's not expansion panel. Let me get the name of the widget correctly. Expansion panel, expansion term. Come on. Let me see this stuff. Either builder. No. Expansion list. Yeah, so the name of the widget is this expansion list. So now inside the expansion list now, I have these children. So these children we really want to contain all the stuff I want to hide. That is all the stuff that will be hidden until the user click on the expansion stuff for it to show up. So now inside this guy, inside the children now, I'll just call expansion panel. So the header will be, what's the header? Is it widgets incoming? Okay, sorry, let me check this children again. Expansion panel. Sorry, I'm trying to check what you have to return for this. Okay. Sorry, let me actually check online because I'm actually confused of the widget's name. So let me search Flutter expansion. Okay, expansion. It's removable. Okay, let me go search for this. You can see. Okay, so expansion panel. So let me check the code snippet. There's not a snippet here. Okay, let's just try and watch this video together.
A common pattern in apps is to have a list of items, a widget that when tapped on will expand, a panel. Start with the header builder, which contains the contents of the opened panel. And finally is the Boolean, is expanded, to indicate whether or not this panel is currently open. But what to do with this flag? Well, expansion panels almost exclusively appear as children of expansion panel list.
Okay, so I think I get the point now. So now inside the expansion list now, that's where we have all the lists of all the information that will be hidden. So now for this expansion panel now, the first required widget is this widgets function, which has the build and the boolean. So I'll just put brackets like this, then the underscore, then let me just call it open also. Since the body with, let me over this guy again. Enter expansion. Okay, so for the body now, I just let me return context for this. And for the body is a widget, so I'll just return a text. So let me see, text, then this is one. So I'll just duplicate this guy for 3, so you can see the example. Why is this one throwing error? Let me check. The argument of the same thing. Oh, okay. So now it has to be like this. So inside the guy, you can return text also. This is one like this. Okay. So let me just copy this guy. Let's just have the 2. So this is 2, and this is 2. So let me refresh our program. Okay, now so as you can see now on the screen, we have this. If you check that stuff that looks like construction caution stuff, that has that black and yellow stuff. So the error is an overflow error. So because something overflowing in Flutter, that is the we have an overflow error. So what this simply implies is that the content inside our body is more than the height of this body. That is, we can't have something, there's a widget inside beneath this particular body, but it can't show the user, so it's showing error that there's no space for it. So how do we make this particular screen scrollable, that is the user should be able to scroll from top to bottom? So now to do that, we have a widget called single child scroll view. So for us to make the whole body scrollable, the first thing, the stuff we need to do is that we have to wrap the column with single child scroll view. So now, the column is the one that contains all the list of widgets. So if you want to make all those list of widgets scrollable, then we have to wrap our column with the widget, which is single child scroll view. So I've just, the shortcut that I'm using for creating all these widgets is control period. So once you click on control period, it will show you all those options. So I just say wrap with widgets, then I'll change the widgets to single child scroll view. So this single child scroll view make our page scrollable from top to bottom, yeah. So now if I refresh, let me collapse all this code so we can all see everything at once. So now if I refresh now, you see that the error will disappear, so we'll be able to scroll. So you can see now, you can see that we can scroll up now. So for this expansion now, we are here to actually put anything inside the expansion. So now for the expansion, I'm trying to check the expansion. Okay, I want to give a space between the expansion and the bottom stuff so we can see everything. Okay, now so for expansion one now, so for us to have the stuff expand, so now inside the expansion one now we have let me write, we have the body is expanded. So okay, it's expanded, by default is true. So once they click on it, it will be first, okay, the body. So now inside this body, let me just return column. So we have multiple stuff here. So let me break it down. Let me refresh. Okay, so once you click on this guy now, you should actually, okay, I don't know why this guy is not pressing. Let me set the default is expanded to true, so to see what's really going on. Okay, so now this is it. So once the stuff expands, okay, I'm coming. Let me check. Okay, so now once the stuff expands, this is how it will actually look like. But I don't know why this arrow up is not working. It's supposed to work. Evaluation divided, expanded, come back. Okay, so that's how the expand actually works. That is, once you click on it, once you click on this arrow stuff, it will expand and also collapse the whole stuff. So let me try and check what's actually causing it for it not working the way it's supposed to work. Just give me like some seconds and let me check. Oh, okay. So now instead of, sorry guys, hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so instead of using this expansion list now, we'll be using expansion tile. So now I think that one has the functionality of what we actually want to do. So now let me just call expansion tile. So inside the expansion tile now we have the title. So I'll just say what should I give it? Let me just say title this this is expansion. So inside this expansion tag we also have children, that is the content that will be inside our expansion once the stuff is collapsed. So inside the children, and these children accepts was list of videos. So let me just go and copy what we have here. So let me just copy all these guys. So I'll just copy it and paste here. So now, and also let me make this guy collapsible. Let me set this expanded to false again. So we don't really need this one. So we'll be making use of this expansion tab instead. So let me refresh. Okay, now so okay, let me put this expansion at the top so we can actually see it very well. So let me move this, or let me even delete this one because we don't really need it. So let me move it to the top. Let me delete that one and refresh again. Okay, so now you can see this expansion. Let me try and move it a little bit up so we can see it very well, because there's an arrow here now. So once you click on it, it will expand. So let me give the space below it more space so we can able to swipe up more, at least scroll up more. Yeah, so I'm trying to reload now. Okay, so now you can see now this is the expansion. You can see the arrow now. So once I click on this guy, it will expand. You can see that it's expand, and also all these values that are inside the children just open up. You can see that the arrow also change. If I click on it again, you can see, and if I expand. So that's what the expansion stuff is really all about. That is, you want to expand some information. That is, you just want to have the title. So once the user click on it, user can see the full stuff. So that's what the expansion tab is all about. Yeah, so do you guys get the points now?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Any question on it? Any question at all? Any question? Because
No
this will be
question.
okay,
Uh,
because this is the last widget you'll be trying out. Yeah, so by tomorrow now I will on inside this our timetable, I will list some widgets that you should try out before our next meeting, because I will also be the one anchoring the next section, which is on Monday. And that next section is on what's it called, design and animation. It's just like basic design and animation though. So that will be next week Monday. So you guys should, I will put some widgets that you try out throughout the weekend. So by Monday, I will ask you guys of how to actually present what you are able to come up with all those widgets. Yeah. So that would be it for today. Do you guys understood like everything that you have been talking on so far? Like all the widgets that you have tried out today, do you guys understand it, at least the basic aspects? Do you
yeah.
understand it? Okay.
Yes, and
Okay.
also believe when we start working with them, it will become
Yeah, yeah. So, Ahmed, I saw you actually just joining. Are you just joining the corner, Ahmed? Ahmed, are you there? Okay, okay. Yeah, so since there's no question, hey, you guys, once you are trying it out, you might have some question. You can always drop your question on the Slack channel. I will surely respond to it, or any instructor will respond to you. So if you have any confusion whatsoever, once you are doing the practice, you can drop a message on the Slack channel, that is on that Flutter channel. Then someone will respond to you. So that's how it works. Yeah. So that was what do you say?
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah, if you have question, you can if you don't have the question, or that is probably later on when you are practicing this stuff and you have a question, you can
I,
always ask.
I want to ask a question now.
Okay, I want to ask the question. Okay, go on.
Yes, do you still have another class on UI component, or this is the basic
Yeah,
class, or we are still
no,
having another class?
no. The next class now is animation. You are done with UI components for this bootcamp. You know, this bootcamp is just a month program, so we just have to. You can actually this bootcamp is just for the basic class. This is the foundation. You can't learn everything. We are not promising you from 0 to 100 or from 0 to 0. We are just promising you the foundational knowledge, so you have the basic knowledge. So once we are done with the bootcamp, you can actually start out on your own. That is, you can continue the learning on your own, but we are just giving you the foundational knowledge and all. So that's what the bootcamp is really on. Do you get that?
Mm, yes, I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. So the next class now will be design. Why on is this Wednesday or Thursday? Will be navigation and routing. That is how to move from one screen to another. The next one, which is form and gesture, how to validate form. Then the next one will be the advanced concepts, where I will be taking us on how real world application actually works and all those stuffs. And also the last one, which is building your profile as a mobile developer. That is how to sell yourself as a mobile developer. You know, any skills that you are learning right now in Nigeria, you actually you should be able to make money with it, because if you are just learning a skill and you are just learning it for learning sake, it's just like a waste of time. But I want to advise you actually to put your mind on making profit from it as of now. Just pay more attention to the learning aspect. So once you pay more attention to the learning, by the time you are ready for work, then it will be easy for you. You won't be struggling with some of the stuff you haven't learned before. Then you are now struggling on real life projects. So that's what building your profile as a mobile developer entails. And also the last one, which is GitHub and online presence, where we'll be taking us on how to use GitHub effectively, and also how to sell yourself. That is, you know, if you are doing anything, if you don't put it out there, people won't actually know what you are doing. It's until you tell people what you are doing before people can know what you are doing. So that's the online presence of everything. That is how to make use of your social media platform. For example, Twitter, LinkedIn. That is those two especially, Twitter and LinkedIn. If you can make use of those two platforms effectively, you actually go beyond what you have ever think of. Yeah, so that will be all for today. So I will push this. Let me stop the recording.